Super Rugby round number 4, folks, and it's the Crusaders flying the flag for the New Zealand teams because my Blues went down, the Chiefs suffered their first defeat, and the Canes went down. Highlanders were on the bye. So only the one of the kind of New Zealand 5 franchises getting a win. Both the Pacific teams, ONE Pacifica, and the DRU are getting their first wins of the season, which I think is pretty important. And the Brumbies getting a win over in New Zealand at Eden Park for the first time since 2013. We'll go through the 5 matches pretty quick, wrap them up. You guys can let us know your thoughts, and then we'll have a look at the table and the upcoming fixtures for round number 5. Friday game, Blues, Brumbies, Eden Park. The Blues are one of the only bloody blue teams. We've got half the teams in blue in Super Rugby who didn't get a win. The actual blue team, the Blues, 20 points to 21, scoreless second half. Beauden Barrett, broken hand. He was, apart from kicking goals, which he was pretty shocking at, his around-the-park play was pretty sharp. He got a try for the Blues, Ta'avao got one, and Ioane, that's Rico, broke his try-scoring drought. But it was 20 points to 10 at half-time. There was one to Ala Alatoa for the Brumbies, but the second half was all the Brumbies, 11 points from them. They tried to Declan Meredith, and then penalties to Meredith, and a late one to Ryan Lonergan. Basically, with a minute to go, pretty much out in front, but still a pressure kick. He slots it to give the Brumbies, as I said, their first win at Eden Park in over a decade. The Blues knocked on a heap of ball. It was very, very frustrating. I was cursing out my TV watching the Blues, and our goal kicking finished at 40%, which is pretty bad, especially when you lose by 1 point, whereas the Brumbies were at 80%. Knocked on way less ball. The turnovers conceded was 22-12. Like a normal turnovers conceded count is probably, I want to say around 10 or 12. That's normal. To get to 22, you got to be doing something pretty special. In this case, especially bad for the Blues. But I don't want to take anything away from the Brumbies. They defended well and shut the Blues down. They had more ball as well. The Blues only had 45% possession. How do you have 45% possession and still cough up almost double the ball of your opponent? Again, credit to the Brumbies. Blues are not looking like the team that won Super Rugby last year, that is for sure. Good on the Brumbies because they had a bit of a mixed bag start to their season, but hopefully this gets their season a wee bit kind of back on track. The second game was the DRUa and the Chiefs, and the DRUa, despite being winless going into this one, have been in all of their games, even the games on the road, which has been pleasing because the DRUa traditionally have been pretty awful on the road. But they've been competitive. They've been getting losing bonus points, but they needed to get a win, especially at Lautoka, which is something of a fortress for them. It proved to be once again. Boy, was it raining. Oh my goodness, that was the wettest weather of the week. But still, a cracking crowd gets out there in Lautoka, getting behind their team, making themselves heard. Despite the fact that the Chiefs had a pretty good early lead, a couple of early tries. They led the first half 12 points to 6. Tries to Tokiaho and Tupo. 3 of the 4 Chiefs tries were pretty much close range jobs. It was the DRUa who had the kind of highlight reel tries. They scored through Darren Alangi, which was also relatively close range. But Karawalevu, the hands for that one as they kind of batted the ball back into the field of play. And Logan Imasi of individual brilliance. That guy is amazing. So yeah, some highlight level stuff. And they kept the scoreboard ticking over. They finished with 3 penalties from Armstrong Ravula. So yeah, in the scheme of things, pretty important. It looks closer than it was though, because the Chiefs scored a late try, which was a kind of late 82nd minute consolation try to Tupo Vai, which at least got them a bonus point in this one. Key point for this one, I think, if you're a DRUa fan, is your team tackled better. It's been an issue in the recent losses. The DRUa's tackling percentage has been in the 70s, which is pretty bad. Most of the sides are in the 80s, and the DRUa were this week. The DRUa tackle count was 87%, whereas the Chiefs were 82%. The Chiefs missed about 10 more tackles than the DRUa, and that is often a pretty telling stat. So good on the DRUa, getting their campaign underway proper. We'll see if they can convert some of those kind of future close results into actual wins. And the Chiefs suffer their first loss of the season, so looking human after all. The next match, which was the second of the Saturday games, MOAna Pacifica, who going into this one also winless, up against the Hurricanes, who likewise hadn't really found their feet. And I might say this one's the game of the week. If you haven't seen any games, this is probably the one to watch because there's some pretty bonkers stuff that goes on in this one. I did a full match review if you haven't seen it, but that man Pellegrini pulling the strings at 10. It's his first start for Moana Pacifica. His kicks from hand often pretty sublime. He is certainly a really, really talented guy to watch. And that man, Taumoefalau, on the wing is just worth the price of admission. Tickets to Moana Pacifica games are bloody cheap. They're like $10 for the grass embankments plus the service charges to like $14, which is a pretty cheap night out. I think going to see Taumoefalau live is probably worth $14 because, I mean, he gets line breaks, kind of just jinking and driving runs. He is a phenomenal, phenomenal player. It was good to see Ruben Love back for the Canes. But he, despite scoring a try, couldn't do enough to get it one for them. It was 3 tries, though, also for Miracle Whailangi. If you're playing Super Rugby Fantasy, he certainly way outscored Ari Savia this week, who only lasted half a game. Whailangi gets 3, Tupo Ta'iloa gets 1, Taumoefalau gets 1, and Saniviri gets 1. For the Canes, it was Yose from the back of a scrum. He had probably his best game of the season thus far. Love, Lakai, Punivai, and Rover. It was looking a little bit dangerous for Moana Pacifica at the end. Like the Canes, as they chased down the game after seemingly being dead and buried, were letting in, the Canes were getting themselves into a heap of space, heap of line breaks almost too easily, but they managed to hold on. Moana Pacifica. Turnovers one for me is the key stat in that game, 8-2. And it wasn't just kind of one player, it was multiple members of that Moana Pacifica lineup just able to pinch the ball off the Canes. So, yeah, first win for them this season and not even a losing bonus point for the Canes from that one. Final one of the Saturday games was the Tars taking on the Force. I only saw the first half of this one. The rest I've caught up on the highlights because I had to go to bed because the Six Nations was starting at stupid o'clock in the morning. So I saw the first half, which was probably the half to watch because it was kind of 15-5. I don't want to say this game wasn't as good as the other ones this week, and it's impressive that the Tars are undefeated because they are the only undefeated side left in Super Rugby. Yeah, but I think the other games on the Friday and the Saturday maybe had a little bit more bite to them this one. I mean, Max Jorgensen scored a couple of tries, almost had a hat-trick, denied for the last one for a kind of forward pass. He scored a really nice intercept, which I think was pretty devastating to the Force as they were looking to get going. So yeah, he scored 2. Tesaro continues a fantastic campaign in 2025. Geez, he's going to put Fraser McRae under some pressure in that back row. He has just been on fire, but yeah, the Tars in the second half really took the game away from the Force. Lancaster got 1, Kalapu got 1, and then Callaway got 1 as well. There was a late one to Coxon, which is the kind of last try win stuff for the Force, but yeah, unconverted tries, 2 of them, 34 points to 10 is it's a bit of a big old win. We're getting used to close results in the Super Rugby season of 2025, but this one ends up a bit of a blowout, 24-point margin. So bonus point win. Tars had 6 line breaks to 3, which seems pretty fair. 7 turnovers, 1-2, which seems pretty fair. So again, I only saw the highlights of the second half, but seems like the right team won that one. But you guys give us some insights if you watched the whole thing. And then the Sunday game, it was pleased to see a bit of late afternoon rugby here from NZ. The Crusaders taking on the Reds, and again, this one's a little bit of a blowout, but good for the Crusaders to fly the flag for the New Zealand teams. 43 points to 19. Like, the stats in this game, like the Reds generated a lot of half kind of chances, but the Crusaders only need a sniff, and they punish the Reds. Will Jordan was looking untouchable at times. He was kind of back to his best. Sevu Reece ended up with a couple of tries. Jordan bagged 2, set up 1. Leo Willie got 1. Almua got 1. Like, literally just the Reds punished for dropping the ball. Cullen Grace got the first one. Goal kicking was a little bit hit and miss. The Reds got him through Dalgunu, Wilson, and Anderson. But yeah, the Reds had plenty of play, but just didn't look to kind of have the same cutting edge as what the Crusaders had. And yeah, you feel like the Crusaders controlled the territory game pretty well. You know, put boots of ball at the right times. Havili had to go off when he got smacked in the head when the Reds were putting a clearance kick, which you don't see every day, but hopefully he's all right. But yeah, I mean, 7 tries in the first half. She was a pretty bonkers one. But yeah, the Crusaders just too good. So that one kind of goes more according to the Super Rugby traditional script. New Zealand side at home beats the Aussie opponent relatively easily. Unlike the Blues and Brumbies game, which totally flipped the script on its head. The Chiefs getting their first loss kind of... I know the Fijian Drua are traditionally very strong at home, but they were underdogs going into that one. So that one kind of flipped the script on its head. WANE Pacific getting their first win flips the script. So it was more these last two, which went, I think, a little bit more according to the plan, which has not always been the case in Super Rugby, as I mentioned this year. If we look at the table, she is a very even one. I mean, the Chiefs are still top of the log despite their loss with 14 points. They are 1 point ahead of the Tars, so that late bonus point for them was important. The Tars are on 13, as I said, undefeated. And then you got a whole bunch of sides on 9. Highlanders 9, Crusaders 9, Reds 9, Brumbies 9. That's the playoff spots. And then outside the playoffs, the Force are also on 9. Then you got the Drua, Moana, Blues, and Hurricanes on 7, 6, 6, and 5. Blues and Hurricanes, bottom two sides. What is the world coming to? A reigning champion Blues. Way down the bottom. We do have a chance for redemption in round 5, the Blues, to make up for that round 1 loss to the Chiefs. But that's kind of towards the end of the games next week. The Highlanders are hosting the Hurricanes. Remember, the Highlanders have been on the bye, so they'll be looking to get back into action. And the Hurricanes are looking pretty there for the taking for them. But, you know, the Super Rugby season's been unpredictable, so we will see. The Brumbies are taking on the Drua. So that will be a bit of a chance for the Drua to get revenge for that opening round match where they got beaten in Fiji. But it means more travel for the Drua. Their travel fixtures has been pretty rough. The Crusaders are taking on the Force down in Canterbury. That one you feel like is probably looking like the kind of easiest to predict one of the week if the form guide continues. But it's not always the case. The Chiefs taking on the Blues. That one, to be honest, also looks like pretty predictable. I don't see my Blues getting up at the minute. But hey, the Chiefs just lost, so maybe there's a bit of vulnerability there. And then there's a proper derby match with the Reds hosting the Tars. Can they inflict the Tars' first loss of the season? We'll kind of have to wait and see. But you guys let us know your thoughts. I still think it's a pretty cracking round. But we did see a couple of games. I mean, even Moana's win over the Hurricanes it's not a blowout, but it's no losing bonus point. So, but yeah, I was really intrigued by the round. Some upset results, even my Blues getting upset. I can appreciate because it's good for the comp to see an Aussie side get a win over here. We'll see how things go in round 5. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Let us know how you're going in the fantasy. I have Max Jorgensen on my side this week and Will Jordan, so they both did all right for me. But I also had Artie Savia. He didn't do much at all. But anyway, you guys take care, and I'll talk to you guys again soon. See you later.